All right, so we are up to number 6 of Pastor to Pastor videos, which have been remarkably fun, at least for us, and I think we're hearing that people really enjoy watching them. Gives them a little 10-minute break. When we're recording this has been kind of a heavy week, and we just sent out an email in regards to Emmanuel Balea, and so the news has just been a bit tough, and so I think both you and I have felt it this week, and maybe especially yesterday and today. So what I had thought, Mike, was maybe we just kind of talk about hope and newness and the sort of the spiritual things that give us energy and drive. So we're just going to start, and I'll ask, so are there any sort of things or practices that you either have had to do because of this quarantine, or you've started because, you had more time on your hands or something like that, that you've decided, I'm going to keep on doing this even when this is all behind us?
Yeah, practices, like I had mentioned before, running and walking. I think I'm running and walking more than ever before. I do like to play around in the garden. So as the spring goes forward, just this past weekend, I've put a lot of things in the garden, and it is just a lovely thing to plant stuff, see it grow, and fill the world with a little bit of beauty. I've begun a great big book, The Brothers Karamazov, which, if you know that book, it does talk about a lot of the tough things. The world has been damaged and violent and cruel for centuries, and one of the key questions of that novel is, how can God be God with so much cruelty in the world? So those are all things I've been doing. I've also been reading the Psalms. Jan Bush had said early in the pandemic news that some churches had pledged to read Psalm 91 every day for 91 days, which probably was a very good thing to do. I didn't last 91 days on Psalm 91. I lasted 3 days on Psalm 91, and then I decided to go to other Psalms. But reading the Psalms, especially the Psalms of Lament in this time, has been a very good practice. In fact, I'm preaching on a Psalm of Lament this Sunday, and so those are some of the things, the sustaining practices. I also I am a hummer of hymns and a singer of hymns, but my family will tell you that I don't always remember all the words of the hymns correctly, but I still sing them, and I make up my own words if I can't quite remember the words. That's sometimes entertaining in this household.
That'll be the next CRC hymnal, the Mike version of all the hymns then.
That's right. The way the hymn should be.
That's hopefully none of them are heretical, but I'm sure they're fine. Yeah.
I'm sure they're. Yeah.
So this comes from Gloria Cruzy, who herself is in ministry, in a difficult ministry right now, as a chaplain at a children's hospital during a pandemic. And so this question comes with a lot of knowledge behind it, but she asks you and us, we are in a role where we are called to spiritually nurture others all the time. And yet, of course, we're human beings as well. So you kind of already alluded to the Psalms, but are there some other practices, some other voices, some other people that you're going to in terms of looking for spiritual nourishment, or books that you're looking to right now?
Well, there are always the authors that you read at times like this. There's the Henry Nouwens and the Tim Kellers and the C.S. Lewis's and the Frederick Buechners and the Philip Yancey's, all those writers who have written some very good books just about what it means to be a Christian in our day and age. So those remain, faithful friends, book friends. Then there are your actual friends, the people you went to seminary with, the ones that you chat with online, either on Facebook or via email messages. You ask them, how are you doing? And they ask, how are you doing? So, these colleagues in ministry, we share our challenges and our woes, so to speak. Of course, for me, family is really important. So I always have Shirlene to talk to, and now Aaron is home. So we talk about a lot of things, and we talk about a lot of church things, but just a lot of faith things as well. So when we take our walks, we walk and talk, and we talk the issues of the day. So that's also a very, sustaining practice, so to speak.
Sort of another thing about being a spiritual leader, in our case, a pastor, is the sort of normal Sabbath rhythm for a lot of people just cannot be the normal Sabbath rhythm for us. So for you, what does Sabbath mean, and what does Sabbath look like? What kind of specific practices are you doing to sort of renew your strength and your energy?
I'm in the ora et labora category of Sabbath, which is, pray and work.
Yeah.
In other words, do things. Maybe it's my practical bent. So when I talk about gardening, for me, that's a very restful activity, even though I'm doing things, and some people might call it work things. But for me, it's very restful to just play in the dirt. I dug out my compost heap this spring, and it was like a spiritual experience. If you have a compost heap, you throw all the refuse from your kitchen in there for months and months and months. And somehow through the miracle of decomposition, that refuge, that garbage actually turns to this rich black soil. And in the springtime, when I get to dig it out and pile it up there, there's something miraculous about it, and extremely hopeful. It reminds me of the way God can take so much of the garbage of this world and yet somehow make it something better, delightful, something fruitful even. So those are the kinds of things that I find very kind of have a Sabbath nature to them.
Last question. What gives you hope in these final times? I don't really mean that as a softball question. Like, what are some specific things that you think, oh, there's the hope that I am looking for? Maybe it is in compost.
Yeah. It's partly in compost. I was a history major, and so I've always been entertained and enthralled by stories of the past, and as I said in a sermon, I'm the child of immigrants, and I've heard so many immigrant stories, and I even own some memoirs of a number of immigrants. And this isn't the first time that we've been living through hardships, right? We've lived through hardships before. Our fathers, our mothers, our grandfathers, our grandmothers, our great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers. And we've all hit times where you think, oh, this is the end. Things couldn't get worse. And then sometimes they do get worse. And nevertheless, somehow, providentially, things still turn towards sort of the light. And the arc of history still bends towards the kingdom of heaven. And even at this grim time, I can't help but think that things are bending towards the kingdom as God wants it to be. We're just going through the growing pains, as Paul says, and we're groaning with all creation in those growing pains. So you try look at the long arc of history, and you look at its final destination, and that for me has always allowed me to be hopeful, even in dark times.
Ready for a little lightning round here?
Lightning round.
All right.
Okay.
So, skydiving or deep sea diving?
Deep sea diving.
Marvel or DC?
I'm not a comic person, so I'll just say DC.
Why not? Would Would you rather never be able to listen to music again or never be able to read a book again?
Oh, man. Uh, if I had to choose, I think I could do without the music, but I couldn't do without books.
Cake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Would you rather be awake too late or too early?
Early.
Would you rather be the best musician in the world at whatever instrument you choose or the best athlete in the world at whatever sport you choose?
I would say musician because I think as a musician you have a longer lifespan as a musician than as an athlete.
Fair enough. And then finally, bowling night or quiz night?
I think quiz night. I think my kids talk about going to the bar and doing the Trivial Pursuit thing, and that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is indeed. It's a good family activity too, actually. And you guys would probably clean up knowing your family. So, yeah.
Well, I do know that Lydia and Aaron and I think even Annalise and Braxton have gone to these, and they do pretty well. I should say that one thing about this time is we do a lot, like we play a lot of Scrabble games, and we're at the point where I have to work really hard to beat my kids.
There's a certain pride to that, and maybe a certain fear in that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, this has always been fun. Good to see you again, Mike, and we'll see you on Sunday.